hide all the way. So when you introduce me, I'm gonna
I can zoom in and zoom out.
no, I'm gonna just do this.
Oh, here we go.
What? No, I ain't gonna do that.
Go, but bend over.
We ain't gonna do that. That's bad.
And then I can do like this. Be like. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm ready. Hold on.
Good.
Okay. Hold on, my hair. Okay, I'm for real. I'm ready now. I can be serious. Hello, and welcome to Wedded Wednesdays. My name is Patrice Hunt, and this is my husband, Marcus Hunt.
Hey.
What's so mean?
Hi, welcome to Wedded Wednesdays. My name is Patrice Hunt, and this is my husband, Marcus Hunt.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us this Sunday. This Sunday, we're talking about, do you remember?
Love?
Yes, love.
Yep.
Love? Maybe, possibly. Yes, but we're talking about, I don't like that.
What?
But we're talking about, thank y'all.
I'll do it this way.
We're talking about love and whether you fall in love or whether you choose.
All right.
Or whether you fall in love or whether love is a choice. So, do you want to get started with your thoughts or opinions on it?
No, I want you to start, and then I'll comment on what you're saying. But I want to see where you're going with it first.
Okay. Well, I think the biggest thing for me is that, like, now I'm the queen of like a romantic comedy.
Yes.
The cheesier the better one. It's always the Hallmark classics or whatever. Like, she has a job in a big city and her family owns a vineyard and she has to go back to the vineyard to help her family struggling to survive and just take over the vineyard for her family. And this guy she knew when she was young comes in and he's working and helping her family, and they fall in love and take over the family vineyard and rescue it.
Sounds very familiar. Every week that show is on.
Some version of that.
Some version
is on. So I am not knocking the Hollywood version of love at all.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is it's not realistic.
There are people out there that go back home, help their family on the farm, and meet that high school flame, and like the movie says,
it happened like one time, and then every person
it has happened
wrote about that same one.
No, I go back home. I don't want to see anybody.
I was going to say, because my face changed real quick when you was like, I go back home.
See there?
I was like, you go back home and what?
Don't see anybody.
But so yeah, so that's where I'm coming from. I just feel like it's not realistic. I do feel like when you first start a relationship, you get all the feels, all the feelings. Mm-hmm. And but I think that what that is in the beginning is it's just like your body, you know, getting excited. First, it's attraction. And like scientifically, attraction can be because of the shape of somebody's face, or their pheromones, the way that they smell, or the way they talk, and the way they make us feel. All of those play a part in attraction. Like, you know, that it's really instinctual and things that are in us to kind of help us procreate. It's like that attraction that's where that attraction comes from. It's just like I said, it could be the shape of somebody's face that is something that you like. That's why different people are attracted to different things. The shapes of body, the way a person is shaped, the way a person smells, the height, the all of those different things play a role into whether or not somebody feels like somebody is attractive. And so once you get past that first point of attraction, then you come to like what they say, like falling in love, which is just like it's chemical. It's like your dopamine, your oxytocin, and your serotonin all working together to make you feel a certain way. So it's like the oxytocin is like the feel good. It just makes you, it's like gives you romantic attachment. It like gives you trust and stuff like that. And it's like a loop. Like the more trust you feel, the more oxytocin is released. And then the more you trust that person, the more love you feel or whatever infatuation you feel, attractiveness you feel, all of that, then the more it's just like a circle with oxytocin. It's just like constantly. It's the same thing that allows a mom to breastfeed her baby. Like when a mom holds her baby and looks down at her baby, it just like lets that release go to that so that she can feed it.
Okay.
It's instinctual. It's something that goes off. And then the dopamine is just like that high that you get. It's like, oh, everything's great. It's like your reward center. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, I like the way it feels, when he kisses me. And so then it's like a reward. Or when I get that ding of the text message and then I look at the text message and it's a nice text from you, then it's that dopamine, like that reward center. So now when I get that ding from my text message, now I get happy because I'm anticipating it being a nice something that's going to make me feel good on the other end of it. Okay. But that also works in social media. It works in shopping. Like you get that dopamine release when you're when you find a good deal or when you find a cute outfit and you buy it. And it's also really, dopamine is really prevalent like with addiction because you got that feel good, like, okay, I'm going to do this. It's going to make me feel good no matter how short lived it is. And then the serotonin, it just like relaxes you. It releases you. It makes you like lean into the other person. Love, not, get those warm, fuzzy feelings about that other person. And so all of it is chemical. And I just think like what I explained was like science. Okay. But science to me is just the way that we as humans, explain what God created. So I think God created all that for a reason. And it was for us to procreate and for us to have bonds and relationships. And so that we can have that same, like feeling this way as we have this way, like between us two as we have with him. But I think that love as we know it, as far as like Hollywood says, it's like that. It just kind of is like a jumping off point. It's all of these things inside of us, these chemicals working all together so that we can get to the point where we choose, like we're like, okay, this is the person I'm going to look. Because I feel like love is more of an action than a feeling. I think all of those other things, if it's a feeling, then it's fleeting, it can leave. That's why I feel like that. And I feel like when I choose to love you, that's more than me falling in love with you, because falling in love with you is something that I couldn't help but do.
I think, well, hearing you say all of that, I'm saying, why can't it be all of the above?
I don't think that okay, you're right. You know what?
I'm saying, why
it could be all of the above. Because I feel like also that like what we get in the beginning is just like the India Arie song, I'm ready for love. So it's like, okay, I've gotten past the attraction part. I've gotten past the little butterflies in my stomach that happens because of the serotonin. And now I'm like, oh, okay, this is my person. Yeah. So now I'm ready for love and I'm going to choose to love.
Now you're choosing to love. Yeah. I don't think without the beginning piece of it, all of the, chemical reactions, if you will, that are taking place to make you feel that way about a person, I think that without that, you don't get to choose now.
But do you think that all the chemical reactions and stuff is love?
No, I just think that is, you're going to say I'm doing it again. I think that's the foreplay, before the choice to or not to.
Okay.
So without getting to gaze at someone and look at the shape of their face or you know, their body type, how they smell, and all of that. If that initial attraction is not there, you know, if that's what you are on, then you don't get a chance to ever get to the point to choose to love that person.
Right.
So I just think that it's, whether we want to classify it as love, I just think that's the beginning stages before you can get to making that choice.
Right.
Now, again, that's in the vertical, not the horizontal. The horizontal is the choice.
Mm-hmm.
You have to choose to love God and accept God. That's a choice you have to make. And but again, you can still get those feelings and get that that sense of you know, God, I belong to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with your relationship with Him, and you know, and that's developed through your prayer life and things of that nature. So, same but different. But I think that's more of the choice versus the vertical. We allow all the other things to come into play before we think that we could love you or another person that kind of way. So that's how I look at it. It's not, I don't, you know, discount that part of it. I just think, just, you know, with the world we live in and how we operate, I think that's just the beginning part of it, so that we can get to the point to decide, you know, to make this choice whether or not, you know what, feeling a little bit more than just I like her.
Right.
You know, I'm getting to the point now, well, that's the first person I'm thinking about. That's the last person I'm thinking about, you know, that kind of thing. And how do you feel about that? You know, hey, do I love her? Don't I? I don't know. You know, that kind of thing. And then some point in time you make that choice, and then it's just different from then on.
Yeah.
So, but I think that without that beginning stage, the that infatuation piece of it,
yes,
without that, I think that you never get to the point to choose.
Right. But so that's my question. Do you think that that's love? Do you think that like, because you called it infatuation?
I think what I'm not saying you can't get to love without it. It's just not a common response.
You have to have, and I agree. Like, you have to have something up front. That's why I think that attraction and that dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin release, all of that is important, because it gets you past the stage of walking right past somebody, or just interacting with someone on a surface level to digging deeper. I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's correct. You've heard people say, whether they just met someone or not, oh, I'm in love with them. You don't know them.
Right.
But what you could possibly be feeling is that the dopamines and, you know, all of that, you could be feeling that. And I'm going to use the word infatuation. You're feeling that.
Right.
Not necessarily love, but you're feeling that. Now, could it grow into that? Yes. If both parties are willing,
right.
You know, but I think that, again, without that initial piece, I don't think you get there. So whether that's love, no, but I think that's the road that's leading.
That leads to, you have to go there first. Yeah, I agree. I agree that it's that stop that takes you to that. Now I have a question for you. Like, when we first got together and like you did that, you know, you said, who said I love you first? Do you remember?
No, a little while ago.
My memory bad.
And
So
yes,
I was like 20 years ago. No, it was more than 20 years ago.
More than 20 years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, the feeling, do you remember the feeling? Like, do you remember feeling like, oh man, I love this person, or I love her? Or do you just feel like, okay, this is my person? Like, I don't know. Like, how did you, like, do you feel like at that time you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with this person?
Well, I told a mutual friend of ours early on that was my wife.
Yeah.
Did I feel then, you know, the same or more, you know, what I felt later? No, it was just when I saw you, it was just not necessarily just a feeling. It was more like something inside. And yeah, we had our ups and downs along the way to get to that point. Yeah, but that never changed.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I was, ooh, every notebook I had in every class, at least one place in that notebook said Mrs. Patrice Hunt.
I didn't do that. I didn't
I
do
don't
that.
think boys do that.
No.
But
I
yes,
don't think-
or Patrice loves Marcus, or
Yeah.
Marcus loves Patrice, Patrice and Marcus forever. All of that. I just was
Yeah,
like,
no, didn't do
all the feels,
that. Yeah, I didn't do that.
all of it. So I definitely was head over heels infatuated with you.
Okay.
And so it was that thing that made me want to see you all the time, always want to be with you, and all of that.
Mhm.
And I think the issue with basing your relationship solely on that is that what happens when that feeling goes?
Yeah.
So what happens when I don't always want to be with you, or I'm tired of you, or tired of being
Yeah.
around you, tired of the touch, like all the hands. We've talked about this before, like when we had little kids, and I was like, I just don't want to be touched. Like I'm touched all day long, and I'm touched out. I don't want to be touched just at all. Like, because you got one baby on your hip, one baby on your arm, another baby giving you a hug. It's a lot. And so, what happens when you go from, oh, I can't wait to just be around him, and I just want to all like to that? It's like that. But your love, if that's what love is,
No.
then it's not gonna last.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's where you are as an individual to identify. I mean, what love means to you, and that's not love right there. I mean, I think that's the beginning stages. Like you say, you're infatuated, or you were infatuated with me, and at some point, whether you sat down and broke out a notebook and was writing things down to say, hey, do I really care that much about this person, or is this just something that's fleeting and it'll go away? And whether you wrote that down or you had that thought process and it was, the former, meaning, no, I really care about this person. I think at some point you make like a mental note or something changes to where, you may say, I think I love this person.
Yeah.
And then you go and sit with that. You may share that with friends or whatever the case may be and get some kind of advice, if you will. But that's something that you're feeling and then you're sitting with, and then you're making the choice. Hey, I really do. I really care about this person, because now I don't feel like I could go on without them.
Right.
And then now that means something different.
Right.
Now your actions and behaviors start to change in that manner to show that. So, but again, that's the beginning part.
But what I do think though is that, like, in that, like, now looking back, because of course when you're 20, that's what you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Was I even 20? I was like 19. Yeah. That's what I thought. I thought it was like, oh, I have no choice in this matter. I love him so much. I can't live without him. I mean, I could technically.
Like TV.
It was TV. It was like TV, because that's what TV teaches us. Like, oh, I'm just gonna die without him, and that's what like puppy love is when you in high school and everything. Like all your emotions are so big, and everything is such a big deal, and then you're like, oh, I'm just gonna die. I mean, technically, I could have lived without him, but what's in reality the right thing to say at that time would have been, I'll choose not to live without him. Mm-hmm. Because I can continue on, but would it really be worth my time and my effort? Yeah. How much would I be losing to not have him in my life? I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that, like, when we get so focused up on the feelings of it all, then that's how we lose. Then when those feelings go away, or when tough times come, it makes it easy for us to
pack up and go.
Yeah, to pack up and go, and that's not.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, so it's not what we want. But like I said, I think that like all the chemical things work in our favor because it gets us to the starting line.
Mhm.
Like, you know how you have to, like when you're gonna run a race, you can't just go up and be like, oh, I'm gonna run like you did that time when you just like was on the track, when you got on the track team and you was like, oh, I got this, I'm gonna run, and you ran fast and you were good, and
In
then
practice.
in practice, and then that meet, it was like, oh
I
no.
still did. Wait, don't do it like that. I still ran hard. Now I came in last, but I ran hard.
But you gave it your all.
I thought I did.
But also you had not trained for that event.
No, I didn't.
You ran that event one time in practice, and your coach was like, "Bam, this what you do."
That's what he saw. It was greatness. It was greatness at practice, and then in the meet, it was not greatness. I was back down to earth, and I sucked. So, but you made it seem like I was good. Not at that race, but I was good.
What I said, the reason I was saying that,
I don't know, but I was good.
The reason I was saying that was to say that had you, like, you were great in practice
that day.
That day. But had that been your event that you were practicing at, like all the time, doing all the stuff that you had to really perfect that, then when you got to that starting line on meet day, you would have been great in that meet. So what I was equating that with is like the oxytocin and the serotonin and the dopamine and the attractiveness of your face and all of that. That's like the practice. That's what gets you to the starting line. Yeah,
that's practice.
Yeah, that's what gets you to the starting line. But then to run the race, you have to make that choice.
A lot of times you get to the race, you get to the starting line, and then butterflies. Now you're nervous.
Yeah.
Now, this was different in practice. Nobody was there. Everybody's watching.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about that,
Yeah, because like like you said, in the starting line, like when you first get out, when you have all the feelings and everything is working in your favor in your body with these chemical reactions and stuff going on, it makes it feel like, oh my goodness, this is great, I can do this. But then once those feelings wear off and you're at the starting line and you have to choose to start this race, you're right, you can be nervous because you could be like, well, what does this mean? Like, so do I have to do this for the rest of my life? Do I really want to commit to this one person? Is this person going to change? It's like all this other kind of stuff can start to go into your head. And it can do that halfway through the race. Well, you could be in the middle of a 400-meter run and go that one first lap around and be like, this ain't for me.
That's it. But I don't think it wears off.
You think you know what? I agree. But I'm going to let you say what you're going to say first.
No, I don't think it wears off. If it wears off, I think you still don't arrive to the finish. I mean, to the starting line to make the choice. I think that a lot of people don't do enough of the homework from the standpoint of identifying who this person is and, ask enough questions about their, to identify what their personality is like. And then you start that race and you go around one time and now, hold up, this is, I thought we was just doing, the 200, this is 4. Or I thought we was doing 4 and this is 8. I don't know if I like how I feel now.
Yeah.
I'm a little winded, or this is just not what I expected.
Yeah.
Then, now you're trying to pump the brakes, and then you go back and ask questions that,
should have been asked
in the beginning. And then when you find out, now you're hurt behind what you're hearing, because whether it's, I don't want kids.
Yeah.
Or I've never envisioned myself getting married.
Yeah.
I don't believe in God. So I just think that you have to still do that homework. The infatuation portion of it, the practice, gets you to the starting line. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean the starting line for the actual race. That can be the starting line for practice. We sometimes just get it twisted. I'm in love versus I'm in lust, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so I think that if we're able to remove sex from the equation because that complicates everything. Good compliment, but complicates everything. Then you can truly find out, whether or not you really, truly have anything in common with this person, and do you even like this person?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm going.
And I think also with that same analogy, like going around that first time, sometimes you go around the track that first time, and it's like, oh yeah, this is good. You got that adrenaline pumping.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's good. But then that second lap,
yeah.
And like you said, oh, I thought this was just going to be a 200 and it's a 400. And then you choose, you know what? I could keep doing this. I could keep running, but I'd probably come in last. And I don't want to do all this work to come in last.
Yeah.
I'd rather just give up and quit. I'm going to sit it out because it's not worth it to me.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's another thing too. Like when you make the choice, you make the choice for better. Especially when you get married, you make the choice for better or worse, for sickness and in health, yeah. For rich or for poor.
Yeah.
And so all of that, you have to be ready for all of that, because that first lap may be richer. The fourth may be poor.
Yeah.
The second may be sickness. The third may be health. So it ebbs and flows. And so if you just want to take like I'm sure every runner takes it one lap at a time. They don't get out there and be like, oh, I'm going to get this. Like the goal is to get around it, get to this mark at this time, get to that next part, because you can't you got to take it one bite at a time.
Yeah.
You can't take it all at once. And so I think it's the same thing with love. You have to make that choice every morning that you wake up.
Yeah.
And does it get easier? Yeah, it gets easier to make that choice, because it goes from being, in my opinion, at least for how I feel, it has gone from being a choice that I make to kind of like second nature, because it's not like, oh, today I got to choose to get up, and now it's like, this is who I love. This is who I'm with. This is who I love.
Okay.
And this is who I'm gonna love. And it's kind of like the whole, how I said, divorce is not an option. Mm-hmm. So now that divorce is not an option, now that that's taken off the table, that's not even something that enters into my mind. So not choosing to love you is not an option. So now that's not something that even enters in. So I don't have to be like, oh, but now there are times when it's like, I have to choose to do the action of love, like whatever that may be, in that instance, like dying to self so that I can serve you, or doing something, or shrinking down so that you can be bigger in that instance. You know what I mean? And so I have to make that choice to do that action. But and that's not always easy. So because sometimes it's something that I might want to do, just like it's you. I'm so sure it's so many instances where it's like something that you would prefer to do, but you don't do it because you know that we need something, or I want to do something different, or like you just want to lay in the bed and I want to go and walk down to the neighbor's house and play Phase 10.
I'm going to drive. But yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you taking world-class athletes, if we're talking about track and field, Olympics just ended. I think that however many times you're going around the track, I think it's about the mindset. You don't want to get too high because you're leading.
Yeah.
You don't want to feel dire or desperate because you're in last. You're pacing yourself, and you know what you have in the tank.
Yeah.
And so whether you started out in last and you improve each lap to the point where, hey, you didn't win the race, but you felt good about where you placed and all that.
You might have got in third. You might have,
So it's just, I think it's more so mindset than anything. In relationships, you're going to have good and bad.
Yeah.
And when it's good, don't get too high.
Yeah.
It's, you feel good, things are good, don't get too high. And when it's bad, don't do the pity party.
Yeah. Don't get too low. And don't think that just because it's bad, it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, everybody has hard times. Everybody has disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody struggles. Nobody's relationship is perfect.
Yeah. That's just Instagram.
Yeah.
The filter and reality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true. Because nobody takes a well, some people do take a picture of them arguing, but sometimes that's fake. But
Yeah.
like nobody does a video of them and their spouse arguing and post it on Instagram.
Yeah.
They don't
a
do
real one.
a real one. Or
Yeah.
if they do it for clicks or whatever.
Yeah.
But but they will quickly, or they don't take a picture of their bills piling up that they can't pay.
Yeah.
But they'll take 50 million pictures of
you on vacation.
Mhm.
You don't see, you see the pictures on vacation, or you see
the dinners.
the dinners, date night. You see
gifts.
all of that, but what you don't see is the pain to get from one picture to the next.
Yeah.
And so there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
You don't get too high, don't get too low. Try not to make it about you. If it's love, try not to make it about you, and look at serving that other person, and hopefully, prayerfully, they're doing the same. And then you guys compete in that manner. I'm going to outserve you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And as far as a topic like choosing or falling, a lot of times people will be like, "Oh, I fell out of love. I fell in love with it." Like, "Oh, why are y'all getting a divorce? We just fell out of love." No, you chose that they weren't worth it.
Yeah.
They weren't worth going the extra mile. They weren't worth the work that it took to continue on the relationship, especially if it seemed like everything was good. And, a lot of times people will put, they're like you said, with the filter versus reality. So all you see around everybody is the filter. You never see the reality of the disagreements or the downtime. And we were watching a sermon or it was a podcast, and they were talking about how Jonathan and his wife was talking about how they argue in front of their kids, and like that, so if you never had parents who disagreed in front of you, you might think that you're never supposed to disagree.
Yeah.
And so if you go into a relationship and you have your first, you get married and you have your first disagreement, and you like, hold up, what's this?
Yeah.
My mom and daddy ain't never argue. My mom and daddy ain't never go through no hard times like this. And all we see is roses and sunflowers, and everything's good. But then when things are bad, you see all the richer goodness, health, but you don't see the sickness, death, and poor, part of it. So, and don't compare.
No,
you can't compare like your relationship to somebody else's, because their relationship is theirs, your relationship is yours.
Yeah. What works for you works for you.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So yeah, don't do that.
And you're like, you can't. And then also, like, if you, like, the Bible says the heart is the most deceitful. It's like in Jeremiah 17:9. It says the heart is deceitful above all things, beyond cure. Who can understand it? So it's like, if you try to follow your heart into something, it's not going to necessarily lead you in the right place. It's not going to lead you to where you're supposed to go, because the heart, honestly, is lust. It's like lustful conduct. It's kind of like what the heart wants, how they say the heart wants what it wants. Yeah, but you don't have to act on what it wants. Because sometimes the heart might want somebody who is derogatory, narcissistic, talks down on you, but you're like, oh, but I love him so much. He's so cute. When it's good, it's good. And when it's bad, it's not, it's bad. But I just want him so much. My heart, I just love him so much. But that's all of that other stuff kicking in. It's the way he makes you feel. It's that response that your body gives you. That's why it's important, like what you said about the whole kind of separating sex from it before, because if you don't have a good foundation of who that person is and you just jump into bed with them, then that clouds your judgment. At least for women. I don't know if it does for men.
It's the same way. It's the same way. Maybe not as prevalent, but it happens a lot. So, there's no difference in that regard. I just think that, that this can go a lot of different ways of how we could talk about that. But I just think that, how I said previously, of my default being God, working toward that. When something goes wrong, instead of me trying to jump in there, what can I do to fix it? God, please help me.
Yeah.
Well, looking at it in this light versus, based off of what you were just stating, when it goes bad is, it's not as good then, but when it's good, it's great kind of thing. What they're falling back on is those dopamines and all of that.
Yeah, because it's that good time is.
Yeah, they go back to that. And do I really want to lose this person behind being mistreated, or our difference of opinions, or these arguments, or whatever the case may be? Then they go back to that to see if that's enough.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's okay, boyfriend, girlfriend. A lot of times that's happening in marriage. Well, can you get beyond whatever this, test is in front of you? Then now you're sitting there, and then a lot of times we're getting advice from people we shouldn't. And then you're contemplating, should I stay with this person or not? And then, but where is your common ground? Do you guys have a common ground? Do you have a foundation? And if not, then you start to rely on your feelings.
Yeah.
And
your feelings are just like Jeremiah says, the heart is deceitful. And also, like, our pastor has been doing a series. I might link it in this video if I can. It's called All the Feels.
All the Feels.
All the Feels, I think. But one thing that he really said that really stood out to me was that, like, we're supposed to be stewards over our emotions. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we allow our emotions to control us, or like the heart wants what it wants. I fell in love. That's where we're letting our emotions control us. But our responsibility is to control our, like, so you see because what your emotion does is your emotions are just like that trigger. It just lets you know what's going on around you, mm-hmm. So because he kind of equated it to like the dashboard, remember? Yeah. The dashboard in your car, how if a certain light comes on, then you know something's wrong. And so that's kind of how your emotions are. If you have this feeling of love, then you can look out to go, like if you have that feeling of the dopamine and all of this going on, and you feel this way about this person, now that's like, okay, this light of possibility has come on. So now I need to sit down and see if this is something that I could choose to walk into, or if it's something that I should choose to walk into. Because just because the light comes on, don't mean that you have to, do something about it. I mean, in the car it does. If your gas light come on and you don't put no gas in it.
Yeah, check engine light, all of that,
But I mean, I don't think it's no instance in a car that I can use to say, oh, if this light comes on, you don't really have to do nothing about it. Oh, no, your turn signal.
You turned it on.
That's a good one. I'm just saying, when the turn signal is blinking, 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 you don't necessarily have to make that turn just because you turned it on.
Yeah.
So, just because that feeling comes up and you kind of.
But you may cause somebody else to get the wrong impression by that.
Oh, that was good.
I'm saying that's what I do. That's what I do. I drop a little dime and don't even realize it.
You're right. By turning on that blinker, you having some, and that's a lot of times can happen to to relationships when one person is further along in the relationship than the other. They're all head over heels. They didn't made the choice, and the other person, they 2 laps in, and the other person's still at the starting line. Practicing, because they turned on the blinker and they didn't commit to making the choice. Yep. That was good, babe. Look at you.
Might have to give me a shirt, man.
But so I think that's important. Like, we have to remember that our emotions don't control us. We control them. And the heart doesn't control us. We control it. It's in Matthew 6:21. It says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. So to me, that says that, like, whatever I choose to treasure, then my heart will follow along. Like, where I'm putting so if my treasure is in God, if my treasure is in my husband, then my heart, my love for him is going to increase. And a lot of times because that's where I'm going to put my energy.
Yeah.
Where my treasure is, that's where I'm going to put like, I love him. I'm going to put everything I have into him. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do for him. I'm going to lift him up. I'm going to do all the things, even if because I think the oxytocin and the serotonin and the dopamine, it don't stop just because you make the choice of love.
Right.
It continues on through your relationship. Like right now, we're sitting here snuggled up. His arm is around me. I'm producing oxytocin oxytocin because we're in close proximity, affection. It's,
Okay.
released because of that. So it doesn't end. I'm not saying that, but just like also when you run in a race, when you're a track person, you run a race, but you still continue to practice between each race and between each meet and stuff like that. So you still have all of those things in play. But I think the problem comes is when you're just going from chemical release to chemical release, but it's nothing in between.
Yeah.
To sustain you.
Yeah. But
I really do think that this was a good topic to have, just because it kind of gets your feet wet, especially if you're not in a marriage, if you're just single. It just like it lets you know that what is on TV is not real.
No, not at all. Not at not at all.
Even though I love, let me tell you how I love me a chick flick, as they call them.
Yeah.
The more unrealistic, the better. Take me to that vineyard, or go to Paris, or I'm going and moving to another city and meet this. I love all the feels.
Not one scene anybody going to work, paying a bill.
Yeah.
Everybody got money and they're doing it.
Yep. That's true. All the surrounding factors are working out for their benefit. That's true. But yeah, so I mean, I think that it's beneficial. Like I said, when you get started, the attraction, all the chemical reactions that happen in your body, those are beneficial and they serve a purpose. And they were designed by God. So I'm not negating them.
Yeah.
Because there was a reason he put them in us. But I think that can't be the only thing you rest and rely on. Like I said, you can't just go from chemical reaction to chemical reaction. It has to be something in the middle that sustains you. Because really, if you're doing that, you're just going for the high moments. And then when the low moments come, that's when your arguments and your discourse and your possibly infidelity or, things like that can come up, because you are only in there for the high moments. But then when things get bad, you dip out. So
agree.
Is there anything else you have to say?
No, that's it.
Okay. That's it. Did you like today's topic?
I did. I get a chance to drop some nuggets, talk about my sports career, track. It was brief, but
it was one meet.
Look, don't again.
Did that release some oxytocin for you?
I did more. I ran in other meets that year. I didn't run track anymore after that.
Oh, okay.
But I threw the shot put.
Oh.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
I didn't do it no more after that year either. But I did stick with basketball and football and baseball. Mm-hmm. So I left track on.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So I have a question though. So what advice would you give to a single person who is like looking for someone to love? Like what would be like what would be like that jumping off point? What would you say to somebody who thinks they might be on that jumping off point? Because you talked about like asking all the right questions and stuff like that. But of course, like was there any questions being asked when we first got together?
I think so. If you asking me like what questions did I have, I don't really remember. It was a long time. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But again, I mean, when I would come down to the room and we would just talk.
Yeah. It was conversations.
Yeah.
And that's what that's for. Because, in the beginning of relationships also, you be on the phone and you be like, I ain't sleep. You hang up. No, you hang up.
Yeah. No.
So you didn't do that with me? Don't act like.
Again, don't do that.
Don't act like you ain't do that.
I don't recall doing that. Did I do that?
Yes, you did.
If some people say I did it, then okay. But my advice would be for yourself, be the person that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. Before you go out searching for love or anything of that nature, do a self check, do that self inventory, and work on you first. Make sure that there's a love for you first, so that you don't go out and just accept any and everything. And I believe that if you do that, I think that puts you in a better position to be accepting of someone else. Basically finding, identifying who you are, making sure that you love yourself, so you can be accepting of someone else.
Yeah, because you can't put everything onto. You can't expect for somebody else to be all you need them to be.
Yeah.
You have or to pour into you where you're lacking.
Right.
You have to come to a relationship whole, and that person has to come into the relationship whole.
Yeah.
You can't like expect for the other,
Yeah.
for each other to.
Yep.
So, alrighty.
That's it.
You didn't give me an idea for next week, so we'll see.
I think I got one. I don't.
Usually
we'll
when
figure,
you're talking,
we'll figure something.
so God will give us something. It'll be something that happened this week, I'm sure. But I want to thank you guys for joining us this Wednesday for Wedded Wednesdays. And we hope you have a great day. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.